lower proof martinis, things like that. Vermouth is wine. It is aromatized and it is fortified. So what that means, aromatized means that it is flavored with various botanicals, most notably wormwood. So that is what the actual name comes from. And then often a lot of other botanicals that bring a lot of different flavors to the table. And it's fortified, meaning alcohol is added to it. So it's proofed up. It's more spirituous than just your typical bottle of wine. Vermouth is a standard ingredient in so many classic cocktails like a Negroni, a Martini, a Manhattan, and even some cocktails that have recently gone viral like the Negroni and the Stagliato have vermouth as one of their major ingredients. And so I think that people, as they have this new appreciation for classic cocktails, they're starting to understand those secondary ingredients like vermouth as well. I'm going to start with the Marseillais 75. This version is going to bring in some different wintertime flavors that really make it perfect for the season. So I'm going to start with a dash of absinthe. And absinthe is going to bring some of those kind of anisey type notes to the cocktail. We're going to do a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. Ounce of lemon juice, bring a little acidity, some brightness to it. There's Noilly Prat actually contains some lemon distillate and raspberry distillate as part of its fortification. So it's got that really bright, zippy flavor that's going to be perfect in this cocktail. I'm also going to be incorporating some Saint Germain, which is a beautiful elderflower liqueur. Fruity notes to this cocktail, pairing perfectly with the Noilly Prat Extra Dry, which is what we're going to be using in this cocktail. Contains lots of beautiful botanicals that are actually, flavors that naturally you want to enjoy in the wintertime. Things like orange peel and coriander, really delicious flavors that are going to make this perfect for the season. Spritz style in a wine glass with ice. We're going to shake this up. Strain it right into my glass here. Normally a French 75 will be topped with sparkling wine, but instead I went with a sparkling French pear cider, which we're going to be topping it with. And you might have noticed this cocktail has the vermouth as the base spirit and a little bit of Saint Germain, but that's it in terms of alcohol besides this little splash of sparkling. And so that's going to make this cocktail incredibly low ABV. More ice cubes, and then we're going to garnish that with a couple slices of fresh pear there. Of nutmeg right on top. Nutmeg is one of my favorite garnishes. It's just the smell of it, especially when you're grating it fresh. This is our Marseillais 75. A lot of people are drinking a lot less. And so having something that's delicious, that's high quality, that's got a ton of flavor to it, that's also low in alcohol, has been a very common choice for a lot of people who are kind of taking that route where they're drinking a little bit less, particularly the different expressions in the Noilly Prat line. It's obviously a classic ingredient in a lot of classic cocktails, but you can also go as simple as a spritz or a highball with it. So you can just combine it with soda. You can have it on the rocks for the twist, and it's super, super delicious. That's what I drink at home. But you can also, they are the standard ingredients in so many classic cocktails, and so it really is super, super versatile. You can combine it with sparkling wine, sparkling water, tonic. There's so many different ways to enjoy it. I really like the extra dry and the original dry in cocktails like Aperitivo or before dinner. And then I really like the rouge in terms of like a Manhattan for after dinners. I'm going to be making one of my personal favorites, which is a 50-50 martini. And that 50-50 refers to the proportions of the vermouth to the gin. Classic martinis are made with gin. If you like yours with vodka, please feel free to make it with vodka. But I really personally enjoy mine with gin. By switching those proportions to 50-50 though, you're making it just a little bit lower in proof, which means it makes it perfect for kind of a pre-dinner cocktail, something not too boozy. So it's literally just equal parts, 1.5 ounces of the extra dry vermouth, 1/2 of Bombay Sapphire gin, which is my personal favorite for martinis. I like my martinis stirred because it's really a texture thing. Martinis should be like very velvety and smooth, and that's what happens when you stir a cocktail versus shaking it, which is going to introduce air. Give that a gentle stir here. To be pretty full within the glass, because the ice is what's doing the chilling, and that's going to make it nice and cold and properly diluted so you can enjoy your cocktail as it should be. With those seaside notes that it's getting from the long flow aging, it just has all that minerality that pairs perfectly with seafood. I like to garnish my martinis with a twist. And when you're expressing your lemon oils, you just want to give it a little squeeze right over the surface of the cocktail. You don't want it to look like really like an oil slick over the top of the cocktail. You just want like some gentle drops to give you that lemon oil aroma when you go in to take a sip. There's several different types of vermouth, categories of vermouth. Within the Noilly Prat line, we have 2 dry vermouths and 1 sweet or rouge vermouth. So both our extra dry and our original dry would fall under the category of dry vermouth. There is another category that's kind of between the levels of sweetness of dry and rouge called a Bianco. We don't have one of those. The original dry is actually a super, super unique, our kind of flagship vermouth, if you will. But the extra dry is going to be your classic dry vermouth, perfect for martinis. So this is absolutely the most classic in terms of like what you're going to use a dry vermouth in a cocktail. The original dry gets an additional period of time in oak. So one of the things that makes Noilly Prat so special is that all of the wines get a portion of aging outdoors in oak casks. So our brand home, Marseillan in the south of France, is right on the coast. So that means these wines are getting contact with that kind of seaside air. So you're getting some minerality that's going to pair perfectly with things like seafood and oysters. And the original dry gets a little bit additional aging in those outdoor casks. And so it's going to have a little more nuttiness and complexity. And so it really is its own unique thing, but it's going to be equally as dry as the extra dry. It's just going to be a little more unique. And then the rouge is going to be your classic sweet vermouth. So that's great for Manhattans, for Negronis, for Americanos. Those are all the cocktails that are going to work perfectly with that rouge vermouth. And this is going to have, as opposed to these, which are going to have kind of like brighter botanicals, the rouge has more like warming botanicals like cacao and cinnamon and saffron. Each of the 3 have a unique blend of botanicals. The extra dry is going to have that bitter orange peel, of course, wormwood, a little bit of coriander, chamomile as well. And the original dry has all of those botanicals, as well as the addition of nutmeg and thistle. And then, like I said, the rouge is going to have more of those warming spices, cacao, cinnamon, saffron, nutmeg, clove, those kinds of flavors as well. Vermouth is ultimately wine. So that means it's going to go bad. So you do need to refrigerate it. It's because the flavor is going to change over time. So you do need to store it in the fridge. That's very important. Keep your vermouth in the fridge, and it's going to last you a good month in there, which is great. Definitely rely on your palate here. I like to date my vermouth, so there's actually a date on the back here. So I know when I'm about at a month, and I might want to give it a taste before I use it in anything, because it's not going to hurt you or anything, but the flavors are going to change, and you definitely want that fresh vermouth in your cocktail. But always store it in the fridge to make sure you can use it as long as possible.